In today's presentation, I would like to show you something that happened to me on the way to Philatelic. This is a true story that has inspired me to make the leap from stamp collector to philatelist. A short time ago, I decided to create album pages collecting postmarks and postcards from each city where I had lived. This is an example of my Atlanta, Woodstock, Georgia location. My present-day residence is in New Albany, Indiana, located in the upper left-hand corner of this map, located across the Ohio River from Louisville, Kentucky. This is the page that I created for the New Albany postmark cover. Here is my brief history of New Albany. By chance, I included the last paragraph about New Albany High School. Here are the postcards I chose for New Albany. I chose New Albany High School because it is well known in the area, and the picture of the tornado damage because it was a vintage photograph. My first attempt to acquire a New Albany, Indiana postmark was this cover. Although the postmark is beautiful, the envelope is falling apart and is a very odd size and does not fit the cover mount that I had already added to my page. The contents of the cover were just as interesting as the cover itself, a graduation invitation and a calling card from 1918. I mounted all three items on a special page in my album. That still left me with a blank space, and I needed another New Albany postmarked cover to fill the void. I ended up with my oldest postmark in my Places I Have Lived collection. This one is from 1893 and includes the most common of the Columbian commemorative stamps. This is how my page appeared in my album after insertion. I had not yet developed the postcard page yet. The philatelic story of how these items are tied together had not yet begun when my page went into my album. One day, a fellow collector was looking at the cover and asked, "I wonder whatever happened to woolen mills." I had no idea, and my first true adventure in philately began. Finding information on woolen mill was not exactly easy, especially considering the age of the stamp and the postmark. One of my early clues came from the vintage photo postcard, showing the damage from the New Albany, Indiana cyclone. I found plenty of information on the tornado that hit New Albany unexpectedly. I developed extra album pages to tell the whole story about the cyclone of 1917. Historic records indicate it was probably an F4 tornado. 45 people were killed and over 300 buildings destroyed. A new historical marker was erected a couple of years ago for the 100th anniversary of the twister. The tornado was one of the most destructive storms in the history of the Midwest at the time. It left over 2,500 people homeless and caused over $1 million in damage. During my search, I found an article written by the grandson of the owner of Woolen Mill that told the complete story of the mill's history and demise. The mill was closed during the financial panic of 1893. It sat idle until the cyclone damaged it in 1917. A wooden church was located across the street from Woolen Mill, and it burned to the ground in 1917 before the cyclone. The bricks that were salvaged from Woolen Mill were used to rebuild the church that still stands today. After the rubble was removed from the site, what happened? Today, New Albany High School stands on the original site of Woolen Mill. The December 12, 1893 postmark on the cover shows that the letter was sent to a mill in Philadelphia after Woolen Mill was closed. Perhaps they were trying to sell the equipment. My decision to create an album page for New Albany led me on a philatelic journey on the history of the city where I now live. My accidental choice of 2 vintage postcards is now tied together in a remarkable story. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the space below. Thank you very much for your time today, and if you enjoyed this or other videos on the page, be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel and ring the bell to be notified of future presentations.